Welcome back. Welcome in. It's Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com. This is a Paramount podcast. I am Mike Casazza, joined by Chris Anderson. Chris, this is our last week here without college football at West Virginia. They'll practice next Wednesday. 30 days later, they'll play their first game, and away we go. So I just think it's only fitting we start today by talking about college baseball. Sound good?
Sounds all right with me.
There's just
Yeah.
just enough room on the table for right now. People are gonna elbow up at the table soon. There's not gonna be any space for baseball, so we can do this, which is good because one of us lives in Morgantown and the other one was in Morgantown this past week to cover the baseball program. Good job by me. But you had I don't know, you had unique access to this. It wasn't a full blown camp, right? But you're around a bunch of recruiting camps, and for people who aren't familiar, you were up here with your son for one of the youth camps. A little
Yeah.
different. Just a matter of time till the young Anderson is getting recruited, right?
I was disappointed he didn't get with the scholarship.
Okay, well
6,000 reps in the cage over the next 2 days. That's for
we'll figure
sure.
this out. But hey, just mood, environment, energy, like we've never really been to a baseball recruiting camp. I'm not sure anything is as big or as fervent as football camps are, but it seems like a lot of people flock there and like it.
Yeah, this was like a fun event. Obviously, I think it was for ages like 6 to 14 or something similar to that. And not really the ID camp. That's what they'll have in August, and we'll see how that's different. I'm sure that's going to be a lot more technical and everything like this. But there was good vibes and chaos all at the same time because Monday, the first day of the camp, the camp was running through the morning into lunchtime, and right around lunchtime, that was the start of the second day of the draft. So meanwhile, as the whole camp's going on, Steve Sabins is, I'm assuming, and not assuming because he told me afterwards, on the phone with agents and players and watching the draft eagerly, nervously. I think he did say at one point, while they did talk to coaches and agents and teams, professional teams, and had a good idea of where things were going, there were still some unknowns, and he was uneasy. He admitted it. So his stomach was uneasy throughout the day, just trying to keep tabs on what everybody was going to do and what his roster was going to do. So it was actually, I I'll be honest, I didn't plan it out this way. I was
Mhm.
just like, cool, this is an open week where my son doesn't have camp, and let me see if we can do interviews and my son go to a camp somewhere different. And then it was like, oh yeah, and the draft's going on that week. Oh, and they're having transfer visitors on campus. And the freshmen and transfers are arriving because that whole week it was a lot of freshmen that were working the camp. Obviously, a lot of the returning players are out doing summer league and stuff like that, but they had just gotten there.
Mhm.
Some of them like a week before. As we were there that week, players were just arriving. I believe transfer outfielder Paul Schoenfield showed up on Tuesday while I was there. Um, and then of course, he's finalizing the class. There was the official visitor who later committed, Creed Erdos, the catcher from JMU. I was supposed to interview a couple staff members who were too busy for me because they were busy locking up the future behind home plate for the Mountaineers. So it ended up being a pretty darn busy week for WV baseball.
Your indication is that's probably it for the roster, right?
That was it. Yeah, I can't imagine the numbers that they were telling me, on and off the record were that this is probably it. There's maybe room for one more. And then of course I see the one more actively walking out of the facility to
Mhm.
get into a car with director of pitcher development, I believe is his official title, Chris Riley. So, it was like, all right, there's the one more. And then he committed. So I think that's it.
They added a high school recruit, a pretty good one that I mean may figure into their plans like right away for I don't know, infield third base maybe. They added a bunch of transfers, so they've been active here. And the funny thing is, like in some regard, now is the craziest time. Like they've done all this work, but that draft comes in and there are some surprises probably. Like for example, Owen Puck is the transfer from FIU who wanted to go pro and said, if I get drafted in a good spot, I'm going to go pro. I gotta think that's part of the recruiting process. And he tells Sabins and all that stuff there. I believe you shared that anecdote too, right? So and he gets drafted and he's going to sign, but you don't know until that happens. Like you think you got like a hard throwing right-handed 6'5", 230-pound veteran at the back of your bullpen. Now he's drafted. So what do? I don't know. You got to find somebody. You got to do something. It's not going to be Robbie Porco because Robbie Porco gets drafted. And you think, will he, won't he? It sounds like he's going to go pro. All their guys who got drafted who were underclassmen sound like they're going to go pro. However, they have these seniors who have junior college experience who can come back, and they're important players. Brady Kresser, their shortstop, Reese Basinger, their leader in appearances, probably their best reliever from start to finish last year. They might be back. They didn't get drafted, they haven't signed yet, and it sounds like at least Basinger is definitely back. Kresser, I had heard that Kresser had a pretty good feeling he was going to sign a contract. He has a bit of an injury he's dealing with or was dealing with, or will deal with, I guess. It just hasn't happened yet, but will he? Does he get checked out a couple weeks from now and then signs the contract? Does he come back? That could even go longer. But it's so funny. You spend all this time recruiting transfers, going out and getting a high school player who's still available, and then you're kind of re-recruiting guys to make sure they don't sign. Or if they do sign, okay, what's plan B? The portal has only got so many players left. So now you're trying to coach up your players from summer league. And boy, if I only knew how summer league worked, Chris. There only a story coming on that to show me how this actually functions the way it does. But I don't know, it just strikes me as odd that you think like, okay, you can catch your breath now, but no, like this is the really, it's the finishing sequence, but it's really important too.
I think this is part of like if you go back and look at say the signing class and even some of the transfer additions, and as it was happening, I remember being like, wow, that's a lot of pitchers, a lot of right-handed pitchers in the class, in the high school class, in the transfer class. And you go and look, and there's Cole, Corn. Keep going down, what, three, four, five, six different guys, seven if you go into high school, eight maybe, like pitchers, like a couple of those are left-handed, but you get my point. Like it's just numbers, 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 numbers. And so if you lose one, you're like, okay. And then there's also the aspect you talked about some of these guys that maybe you thought were leaving, or maybe they had or they were draft eligible. Maybe they were considering leaving, and now they're coming back. Luke Lyman coming back. Reese Bassinger coming back. Carson Estridge coming back. Ben McDougal, left-handed pitcher, coming back. Max Yell, left-handed pitcher, coming back. So I think again, they had a pretty good idea that some of those guys, most of those guys were coming back, but to get all of those guys back, that sounds like a pretty good start. And maybe you're not as concerned with, oh crap, Owen Puck got drafted. Now what do we do? I don't think they're in quite that bind. I'm not saying you were implying that they were, but I think they had already pre prepared, or did you just say prepared, right? Yeah, prepared, prepared.
Yeah, preparation.
They were ready. They were
Yeah.
ready.
When I talked to Saban's a couple weeks ago, one of my questions was, "Hey, you guys got some pretty good players from Division Two," and he's like, "Yeah, we're not the only ones who want them." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm sure other schools." He goes, "No, like they're pro prospects," and you get this really excited feeling about adding the Division Two pitcher of the year in Corn, and then Dawson Montesa had a great year and he's eligible to go. And just wonder, okay, how long can you celebrate? Well, they get to keep all those guys. And then none other high school players got drafted. Last year, I lost a pretty good player in the high school recruiting class of the draft. And all things considered, it seems like it's pretty good work. I've kind of written about this. They probably added not just like replacements, but starters where they had to have them. Um, they've I don't know how to put this. Like it's like a darn Rubik's cube, and it's not finished yet, but they moved all the pieces around. But they do all this work, and you're still like, well, who's gonna play center or third or first base? And there's possibilities, but like if you put Armani Guzman in center field, he's probably your best athlete on the team at this point. If not, he's up there. He certainly is a guy you can start in center field. Hadn't played it a whole lot, and most recently saw him playing a pretty good third base. So maybe he's your third baseman, then who's your center fielder? And then first base. I don't know if it's going to be Ben Lumsden. I know he played there in the postseason, but he has not played there in the summer league yet, and he hasn't played very well in the summer league period. So, did they find somebody who can play first base? They don't have a guy who's been playing first base in college coming to town right now. But they have Ryan Maggie, who has been hitting the ball really hard, really far, fairly often in summer league. He can play first base, but he's been playing a lot of third base in summer league too. So it's funny again, all this work they've done, there's still a lot left to do too.
I think I started to ask him about this last week when you and I were on the pod. I said somebody asked me about the roster and whether it was done and what's going on. And I said, hold up. I'm going to pod with Mike in about 30 minutes. Let me ask him. I asked you. And 2 days later, I asked Steve Sabins. And before I could even finish the question, he just kind of dropped his head and started scoffed. Like this, and he was like, yeah, it's absurd. Like all the moving parts of this, of portal open, the portal closed, the draft, high schoolers, junior college transfers, all considering draft, current players, um, seniors that are graduating but have that extra year of junior college eligibility, all that stuff you're talking about. So um, it sounds like a lot, but I think they have properly judged it because it looks like what are they going to end up with like 44, 45, whatever, above the limit. So they're not coming in under the limit and just adding in, I think now where maybe they needed the most, like catcher, or would we agree that that was the one spot or the most glaring need?
That's probably the whole like replacement in the aggregate
Hmm.
Giambi Moneyball thing. Like you lose Logan Salve. Can you go out and get him? They might have gotten him in Johnny Lem, the guy that ended up going to Alabama. They might have gotten him, but to pivot from that to get like Matthew Graveline from Ohio State, that's another player that had draft potential. Didn't get drafted, so he's stuck with West Virginia now, right? Which is fine. That's what they wanted. But they went and got him. They got a Division III catcher from McMurray, who we'll see how that translates. We've seen Division II players make it. We haven't really followed a Division III player. It's going to be difficult, I'm sure. And then they got a guy who's got 4 years of eligibility left in Creed Erdos, who committed and signed the other day too. But that's your biggest drop off, certainly from who you have in Salve, and to who you have, which was not really anybody. Like they like Gavin Kelly, but is he going to play short, second, like maybe center field? Is he going to play catcher? I don't know, not every day. And then the recruiting class, we'll see what happens there. But you're asking a freshman to catch a lot. That's hard. So to go out and get a bunch of guys and somewhere they'll have an answer every day of the week, every time they play with one of those, 3, 4, 5 names. That's good. And that's a better situation than relying on the old way, which is did you recruit and develop somebody? Maybe they had, maybe they hadn't, but you don't have to worry about that now. I don't know who's playing first or third though, Chris. That's the one thing that gets me. Or shortstop too. Like what's the deal with Cresser? So again, like you're like, yeah, West Virginia clap, round of applause. Well, wait a minute. We've got these question marks on the field. Some of them, the answers are there, but answering the one leaves the other one unresolved, maybe a little bit more accentuated too.
Yeah, speaking of Moneyball, was that one with they're talking to the Chris Pratt character who's a catcher, Hatterberg, talking
Hmm.
about playing first base. It's like, yeah, first base is easy. And then the former first baseman is like, it is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fine.
It's not
They'll
that hard.
teach you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that hard.
All right.
Football
Go on.
time?
I'm just gonna ask you
Yeah.
if you're bought and paid for by big baseball. It's really hard not to fall under the spell, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was they had a great time out there. Like I said, it was a lot of energy. Again, it's a youth camp, so they got to have energy, and I think it worked out well that they have nothing but essentially nothing but freshmen running the camp like throughout. So they're there, they're young, dumb, and excited, just like the kids are young, dumb, and excited and ready to go. So they kind of worked well together and had a great time, and um, it was good to see it out there. And again, like I fall under the spell. It's a little strong, admired, might be a little strong, but I was impressed with. I'm impressed with how they handled everything else. Like you guys are putting on a camp while the draft is going on, and your players are going in and out, and you're still adding to the team, and players are arriving. It's like this is wild.
Crazy. Unrelated. Let's get to football.
Okay.
As we mentioned, a week from Wednesday starts. 2 days from now, nine Division I teams, or excuse me, 18 Division I teams, nine the FBS, nine the FCS. They get started because they play on week 0. Mm, West Virginia will wait a week longer. But boy, there seems like there's some buzz. And I want to use this as an anecdote, Chris. I use it in something I wrote, 3 things on Sunday. Just getting Sir Paul Cheeks, Jesus and Cleats. Like that just hits so cleanly with people who remembered West Virginia or who know of West Virginia because you're just like, wait a second, right? And I don't know. Again, I'm biased. I think the sport is more fun when West Virginia's involved, when they're good, when they're fun. And maybe we forgot about Dre a little bit, but here's a reminder that good players who run 4.3 40s and have crazy highlight tapes, and you match it up with Rich Rodriguez, you're like, oh gosh, I forgot this ought to be fun again. And what does it mean? Nothing. But like on a random day in July, like that's a pretty cool addition and something that people can get kind of up in arms about. Maybe that's a bad thing. They can get their arms up in the air about. And I just get this thing now. People are like, wait a minute, this is actually happening. And like people who are didn't want it to happen, maybe they're getting out of the way. Maybe they've moved themselves out of the way, but you're like you have 37, 39 days away right now from getting this back in the field and seeing. I think people are actually pretty excited about this now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, a lot of people put it best because I think at the time it got kind of weird there where, because, and I reported this, he committed to the coaching staff during his official visit. And then a couple weeks later, announced that he was no longer announcing on his announcement day, which was supposed to be July 1st.
Hmm.
And that announcement that he was no longer announcing coincided with another running back, Christopher Talley, telling the WVU coaching staff that he wanted to be a Mountaineer. And then he went public with his decision. So I was like, oh, he took that spot. No, I didn't. And as people pointed out on the board, just take all the athletes and let Rich Rod throw them all over the place. Because I think, there's somebody else pointed out, Jock Sanders, and just move them to the slot. Move them out here. Get these guys the ball. Just get your best athletes. Let Rich Rodriguez figure it out with his offense. That's what worked best 20 years ago or 17 years ago, um, 18 years ago, 20 years ago
Some
was
time
the
ago.
first. Yeah. So, um, yeah, so I think that's the right move. Just take the athletes. Figure like if you're worried about numbers now, like again, we both have stressed like maybe you don't need to go heavy on the high school numbers, like just because of the transfer portal and everything. But if it's an athlete, if it's elite in something, they can figure out the numbers later.
Mhm. I lead off of that because one of the things I talked about was or someone asked about on the board was just your the fervor excitement compared for the expectations. So how excited people are and the expectations versus reality. And I just don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know why lightning couldn't find its way inside the bottle, or why they couldn't catch lightning in a bottle for that matter too. Like the league is just extremely open, but I do think the reality is, probably in that seven-ish range. Some things go right, eight, injuries, bad weather, five, something like that. I don't think that's surprising anybody. The expectations are that they're gonna just be fun again. That's the thing. Like this has not been something that people have been really. No one's setting their DVRs to watch West Virginia games or to catch the highlights of them unless they went to the school, go to the school, have a kid there. Like it's just that broad appeal hasn't been there, which is why it's a funny thing. Here's a guy who's really fast, has a funny name and a funny nickname, but it makes people go, "Oh man, West Virginia, I forgot." And people, you don't want to be forgotten. And did they rehire Rich Rodriguez so people would remember him? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but in a good way. They want to succeed. So I really wonder. I mean, yeah, there's excitement, there's fervor in the expectations. I really wonder how far they're going to be from reality. Because I think even if they just deliver and they're fun again, like, I don't know what the win number would be, but like if they matter and they beat somebody they shouldn't, and they have a guy who puts up gaudy offensive stats, and like you spend the next summer looking forward to him in that offense with that whatever accessory, offensive line, quarterback, whatever, you can stamp that with a big red check. I think it means stuff went pretty well.
Well, if somebody has a big year and is coming back, they're going to need a big fat check too, not just a big red check, Mike. So
Oh, I see what you did there.
yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
get that though? I mean, you're
Yeah, no, because I mean, I was about to say, oh, will people be more excited if they go 6-6 when they score a lot of points instead of 6-6 when they don't? And the answer is yes. And like you said, beat somebody you're not supposed to. Like,
Mhm.
do something different, weird, like crazy. Go into that game where I don't know what game they would be double digit underdogs and surprise them. Put up 40, be like, oh crap, like I wasn't expected. I think it's been a while since West Virginia's done that. Now, did West Virginia beat some decent teams during the Neil Brown era? Early on, a couple times they got a couple upsets, but it was more of the hey, we dragged them down into the mud and oh, we got there. Just eked out a win. It does hit different if it's not you just went out there and just beat the snot out of a team that's supposed to be better than you. That hits different.
So this is the continuation of the thoughts that I was introducing from the board. This is from Salty Dog
Hmm.
8159, but in his question about expectations versus reality, a couple more that really do kind of flow from what we're discussing here. How much was poor coaching, poor decisions, and motivation factoring into poor on the field performance? And again, we don't know what Rodriguez is going to bring. It will not be passive. It will
Yeah.
not be permissive, right? And I think you get a lot of that. Um, at times, people celebrated how steady and calm and collected Neil Brown was. I think as things got out of hand and just specifically mistakes were repeated and there were no repercussions, there was no accountability to some end. People really wondered about the motivation and the performance in the field and how that was all connected. I think you could probably have a good discussion about that, and then you could be more hopeful about the future just because the guy who's in there now is not like the guy who was in there before him in that regard. And then he asks, does coaching and motivation result in wins? Yeah, I think so, right? So I can see that being a dynamic that the one thing is like you're not talking about a control here, which is the roster and the variable being the head coach, because the roster has changed so much. It's not like you're going to get the exact same group of players reacting better to a different tactic as far as coaching. But if you got players who are here specifically because they like this coach or they're wired to play for this coach, or more relevantly, this coach saw something in these players that's going to click, that would get you more excited too. I think you can talk about the differences, but it's really hard to compare how one coach is going to do with the same ingredients, but this different coach has his own ingredients, and that would probably pique my interest most.
Yeah, and one thing you touched on it a minute ago, and that was a problem that we discussed a lot, and that fans were very upset about for a good bit of Neil Brown's tenure was the where's the accountability? Like you screw up, you do something bad, you're still just back in the game, and nothing ever changes. That went for players and coaches as well. And like, could you imagine the secondary ranking like 130th out of 130 teams, like back to back years, and Rich Rodriguez being like, run it back, let's do it again. Like, I don't think that secondary is going to make it through 5 games if that happens. Like, they might a whole new secondary, whole new coaching staff, everything if that kind of falls apart like that. So I think that's the big thing that I'll be watching this year to see how that really changes.
I've talked to a bunch of people who played or coached or were involved, like in the day to day of football, and just like a feeling I get, and it's like been a specific quote or an idea before, is that you feel really good when your team is coached on, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and not on Saturday. Because I mean, you're taking your practices seriously, and everything's done by the time you get out the field Thursday. You walk through Friday, you go Saturday, and you're ready. You feel less secure when all of a sudden Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday just got to the point where you're making decisions on Friday, where you react, or excuse me, on Saturday. So you practice 3 days to figure out what's going to work in a game. In the game, that's not good. And I think you saw a lot of that in the past where Brown famously was accused of like shifting gears sometimes, just trying to hold a lead or win by one. And that's all that really mattered. There was like a style of just like getting to the finish line. I just kind of feel like that Rodriguez's script is shorter and he's going to keep running the stuff. If it's working fine, it's going to keep going. Yeah, you could be a little bit more of a game manager in certain spots, but like you're going to figure out what you're good at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you're going to let it fly on Saturday. You're not going to figure out first quarter, halftime, what you need to be doing in the game. I think that's the difference too. And that's again observational. I think a lot of people who watched or were involved would probably agree with that though.
All right, I got a question for you. I said something in passing, and I saw you kind of think, look up and think there. Do you have the schedule in front of you for this coming year?
Yeah.
All right. I said West Virginia is a 10-point underdog, and they come at is West Virginia going to be a 10 plus point underdog against anybody this year?
As I sit here today,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would.
yeah, yeah. Right now. Like, I mean, obviously it would change as the week and week happens, but
The only one that I really think would be close to be at Arizona State,
yeah.
and that might be like a 9 to 11, sure.
I was just curious. It just got me thinking because I said it and you looked up and I was like, yeah, wait, who are they going to be 10-point underdogs against? Because yeah, I think I'm with you. I mean, depends on obviously depends on the week to week, but if they did look at headlines this far out, it's not Houston, not at Houston. It's probably going to be on the road. Not going to be at Houston. It's not going to be at UCF. I don't think it would be at Kansas. So then that leaves at BYU and at Arizona State. I think with no Retzlaff at BYU and
Or WVU.
him coming to Morgantown and giving West Virginia the entire playbook. Um, I think it's really Arizona State's the only option. Okay, I was just curious.
Utah might be a tricky one too. I don't know what to get from that. I don't know how quick and how sharp their offense is going to click, but it might, and then that's going to be a really good off. I mean, one of the best offensive lines in the country probably. So they're running the ball pretty well. But again, are they going to come into Morgantown at a 10-point favorite? And I'd have a hard time believing that right now. Do you think home field takes a swing?
Huh?
Do you think home field like creates a swing? Does say take a swing? Creates a swing?
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like that's
I
been a
thought this was
great.
like a home field apparel question. I was like, I don't know. They coming out with a new line for
Do you feel
WD?
like home field creates a swing? Because I feel like that 2.5 to 3 points, sure, whatever that is, but experientially, like you can tell when it's worth something. There were
Yeah.
moments last year, last couple of years, but the follow through just wasn't there. Like it just wasn't an intimidating place to come into. I wonder if that changes too. It just
Yeah.
because if
I think
they beat
especially
Pitt,
early, it could be crazy.
yeah, if they beat Pitt and it's a runaway or it's a raucous game, then all of a sudden everybody's like, I'm in, I'm all the way in, or like I'm even deeper in, or I wasn't gonna be in, I'm in now. Like it's gonna make that stadium a little bit more daunting than it had been before.
Hmm.
Change.
Let's see. QB battle. Here, we'll go fast through. This was the first post. It's got the most upvotes. So QB battle still ongoing. Five
Two
players,
guys.
two guys.
Yeah.
Jamori Robinson eligibility. No update.
Um, fingers not crossed as tightly anymore, but still waiting from what I understand. I think I don't know. I think I'll have a yes or no, and that's probably definitive by the first day of camp. That said, and I reported this before. Um, legal options have been considered. It won't be the university doing it. They have not done that. They're not going to do that. Like remember, Raekwon Battle sued. It wasn't West Virginia. They supported him, sure, but it wasn't. And then Noah Farrakhan got in too. That was him. It wasn't West Virginia. I wouldn't be shocked because it's been discussed. Does he want to do that? Does he have advice? Says you're not going to win this? I don't know, but keep an eye on that 5 year eligibility lawsuit that popped up this last week too. Because if that guy gets a temporary restraining order, all these guys who are ineligible for West Virginia right now or who are in need of a waiver, they would be eligible because the 5 year clock would be paused. And that would cause a huge ripple effect in college because you're welcoming in a lot of players who could come back to school because they're no longer out of eligibility.
Trump executive order for NIL. And just to clarify, the 30 seconds of research here has happened kind of right. That was this Friday night, Thursday night. Um, asking, clarifying the status, employment status of collegiate athletes, not stating one way or the other, employee or not. But it sounds like reading this ESPN article from Pete Thamel, um, like it would be leaning towards non-employee status.
I'm not sure that
Y-
helps anything.
Yeah,
Like
I
you're
don't
gonna
know.
need collective bargaining, which means like I don't want to say a union, but you're gonna need some organization. How's that? Of as employees or as some sort of designated person who could collectively bargain. That's just how I think you can sweep all the problems into one area and deal with them at the same time, or at least in close proximity. I don't think this does that, but I have not spent much time on this, to be honest with you.
Okay. Big Ten versus SEC playoff format. We kind of read it as it was happening last week, or as Greg Sankey was talking last week. And he said it sounds like they're going to stick to 12 for another year because those two conferences and no one else matters can't come to an agreement.
Yeah. Well, Big 12 media days got it going. They teed off on the 5 plus 11, the 16, and the ACC's on their side. The SEC follows this past week, and I believe the Big Ten starts Wednesday. The Big Ten will, I'm sure, stick its feet in the ground here and want to hold position and do that. Um, I just I'm starting to wonder more and more if it's going to move off of 12 or like maybe they go 2 years in. They're like, wait a minute, that wasn't so bad after all. Like it was
Yeah.
just the first year of the 12 team format. And they're just like, give me 14, give me 16. 14 doesn't seem like a big difference to me. Like what are we doing with 14? Go to 16. And I don't see the benefit in 16 because you lose those first round buys. Um, I think that the ACC and the Big 12 are making a real risk, assuming that they're going to get more bids as at larges this way. Sure, that's possible, but more likely the other two big piranhas in the water there are going to do that too. So I would probably be pretty happy seeing 12, but I don't think they're in a rush to move things without because they're probably going to come back to it again in a year or two after that, anyways.
I, yeah, what is it? SEC wants 5 automatic with 11 at large. The Big 12, Big 10, whatever. Big 10 wants 4, 4,
Yeah,
2, 2.
it's some crazy number that adds up to 16. Yeah.
Whatever. Which playoff format is best for WVU? The one that has the least amount of automatic bids for those two teams. Those two conferences, whichever one that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard for the Big 12 to get a second team in. Like you may
Yeah.
get one at large team, but like two is crazy. I don't know how that. So yeah, if you can expand that more, that's gonna help.
Well, the ACC one then, or the Big Ten one then, guarantees 2 for the Big 12.
Hmm.
And then there would also be 3 at larges.
It could be really hard to get a third bid.
Yeah, of course.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's not a
definitely.
bad one because you're guaranteed two every year, you know.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
can
you're
West Virginia finish in the top 2 of the Big 12? Yeah.
do you want to go to the Big 12 championship game though?
Yeah, we would have to clarify that. It's like if you get to the Big 12 championship game, you're automatically in.
Then you're not trying to win that game, are you?
Right?
You're being
Yeah,
really
like yeah, we'll
careful,
just
right?
sit
Yeah.
out. Yeah, we'll just
What a
sit out.
mess. Yeah.
Great job, guys. Great job, everybody. Keep it
Mhm.
up. Um, uh, you're a big baseball guy too. Steve Bartman, was he at fault for the Cubs foul ball? I don't know why. Is this coming back up now? What's going on?
I think somebody's just having fun with the questions.
Oh, okay. I
But
didn't
yeah,
know
I
if
mean, he's
I didn't know if he was relevant to what's happening, like something happened to him or something similar or what lately.
kind of hard to fault the fan for trying to catch a ball at that game in that venue at that time with that
Yeah.
much history at stake. Um, a lot easier to forget all the other mistakes the Cubs made before
Yeah.
and after that too. So
Um, why is Andrew posting in all caps Harlan Obioa?
because he probably returned his texts.
I don't know. I don't have much else to add at this point in time. Currently seems like the option at center with a couple of the forwards rotating in.
He
And
owns the
I hope
stocks, and he's got a lot of street cred because he nailed the record last year too. So
there you go.
I'm not gonna say he's wrong yet.
You got any thoughts on the TikTok dances and broccoli haircuts in Stillwater?
I just so oh boy. So
Come on, Boomer.
no, I get it. I understand it. I have nephews and nieces and things like that that make me go, huh, that's what an odd preoccupation. But I
Yeah,
can see people like I'm just being a kid. Well, maybe don't be a kid in your Oklahoma State uniform, I guess, you know. But I can see players being like, "What's the big deal?" And I can see fans being like, "How about you win some games?" But I honestly don't know what those 4 minutes are going to be used for that are going to make a difference in the Big 12. I just don't think so. It's fun, it's easy, it's convenient. They earn a lot of that stuff with the way they play and the way they behave, but it doesn't matter once if this continues in the season, sure. Like if it's a halftime of a game, like Sean Austin tweeting during the halftime of the bowl game that one year, that's an issue, sure, but not right now.
I'm just glad we still had from Rich Rodriguez being like, yeah, nobody's doing the TikTokers. He's out on it. I'm not banning social media, but there won't be any social media in the locker room.
Remember when like Twitter was a newish thing and coaches were being asked like, "Hey, do you have a Twitter policy for your team?" Like, why? And then some teams like, "Yeah, we're not allowed to tweet during the year." Can you imagine telling kids they can't tweet or be on Instagram or TikTok or anything anymore? Transfer portal right away.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Uh, S. Curry, with the possibility, eventuality, question mark, of unlimited eligibility, do you think that benefits programs like WVU who produce solid college level talent, but not as much professional talent? Unlimited eligibility?
And that's what the
Or you mean,
lawsuit's going for now. So, um,
or wait, we mean like it's 5 years, but the clock can go on indefinitely, not you can play college for 12 years, or we
no,
do.
this lawsuit pretty much is kind of saying that like, who was the NCAA to tell you when you can no longer make your NIL in college? Like, why does that have to be a 5 year clock? That seems very arbitrary. I don't know. Like there's so many arguments you can craft and capably wage that billable hours are undefeated too. People love to get interviewed or write their own law journal article or something like that. So it's good for them. I'm sure no one's going to say no to that type of opportunity. I don't know how many are going to win. And some of these things do open your eyes to possibilities and realities that you might not otherwise see. But I'm not sure where this one goes. Like, do we really want 32-year-old kids playing college football? Oh, I mean, That's bad at some point. So yeah, I would think there's got to be some sort of a ceiling or limit put on this, but I haven't. That's not the crux of the argument, I don't believe.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna have an interesting thing coming up. Maybe it'll change by the time this gets posted. But what's his name? Stewart from Texas A&M, who the first round pick for the Bengals, who didn't sign, and now there's people in College Station asking if he's coming back to play at Texas A&M. Now the head coach said nope, but he's not signing. He's still got a year of eligibility. He declared, so he's technically not no longer eligible to play collegiate football. But I,
But why?
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, if we're gonna argue that you could play indefinitely, why can't we argue that you can come back and play if you didn't like where you got drafted? I don't.
And
I
all the
mean,
amateurism stuff, that's bunk now because you're getting
yeah,
paid. So like
right,
how are we drawing a line between amateurs and non-amateurs? And like how is he voiding that? I don't get that at all. Like what has
yeah.
he done to breach the amateur status that nobody else is guilty of? I don't see that at all. So um, if he wants to be a bully and push his weight around here, I'm sure he could find himself on the Aggies roster. And there's enough benefactors down there who'd be happy to help him out. That's one thing
Let me
too.
get
People love the NCAA to take losses now too. So that's one reason there's such a rush, I think, to get them in court or just make them look bad.
uh CE 5588 just says Amir Jenkins. You got any thoughts?
Well, he's had a really good summer, hasn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, I had a conversation with somebody who uh, didn't listen but heard about what we had said about Jenkins, which is that he was kind of smallish and he's not short. It's kind of
no.
long, a little bit light. But I wonder what type of muscle he could put on. But I mean, it's not going to be like 10 pounds, but like 5. Could he put some muscle on? Could he add some weight too, and just so he's not pushed around a lot because there's a lot of game there, and he could learn and help quite a bit. Small role, I don't think you put him in there expecting him to start or play 26, 28 minutes a game, but if he can come in and give you like a little bit of a push the first half, second half, if he can get a run going, if he can fill in, I mean, yeah, that's something there. But again, the timing here is everything. He's had a great summer. He's been one of the top performers in any event that he's been in all of a sudden. That's not an accident. That's a guy who, again, um, is he really a year ahead of schedule? No, because you mentioned before, a lot of these guys kind of like air quotes here, redshirt
Yeah,
early in their prep career. So he's kind of even not that. That's a misnomer with him. He's maybe not this young kid who just physically isn't ready yet. Maybe we got over our skis there, and by we I
yeah.
mean I, because the guy doesn't listen, but he heard about it.
Well, the I was gonna say, yeah, you're right. I think he probably put redshirted because again, he's at Worcester Academy, which that is a boarding school, and typically, if you are going there to play athletics, especially basketball, this is especially true of basketball. That's why you sometimes you see it every year, a handful of guys that reclass, and it's like, wow, they had no problem reclass. I mean, Cooper Flag reclass,
Yeah.
like, whoa, and it's like, yeah, because he probably should have been in this class to begin with,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then redshirted. So he's just going back to the class that he should have been in. So I wouldn't put too much concern into oh, he's so young. I don't think he's too young. So I think, yeah, he's still got to bulk up. Like he's not small, right? 6'2", 6'3", but I think I saw he's listed at like 170. So maybe even smaller than that. So that add on a few pounds to really I mean, I'm not going to compare him to KJ Tenner. I think he's more advanced than KJ Tenner, but we saw what happened to KJ Tenner, who was a very talented ball handler, but he got into the lane and that was it. He was just simply too small to handle Big 12 bodies, collegiate bodies, grown men, as a true freshman. A couple more before we get to your favorite one. Right, here we go. Just for the fun of it, card guy one. What's the next coach most likely to get a raise from the university? Rich Rod, Ross Hodge, Steve Stevens, and Mark Kellogg.
Uh,
Check back on
I
Wednesday,
I have the
Thursday.
answer for you. Yeah. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Okay.
There's also
Uh,
names not on that list.
yeah.
That have amendments forthcoming too. But stay tuned.
What is the ceiling and the floor for the offensive line, and how will that affect Jaheim White's success this year?
I feel pretty good that the floor is not the basement. Um, I just part of it is that what they do is not extremely complicated. Offensive line is not easy, don't get me wrong, but there are ways to scheme it where it's a little bit simpler and you can come together faster. And that's been at least I don't know a whole lot about. the offensive line coach and what he's done in the past. But I know he worked with Rodriguez at Ole Miss and it worked out really well. So if past is future here, you're probably going to have a pretty Rodriguez offense here being coached by his offensive line coach that he handpicked. So it's going to be again, not simple, but a not intimidating offense to learn, a blocking scheme to learn. The tasks are there, inside zone, outside zone, all that stuff. Anyways, I think it'd be hard to be the worst. And the ceiling, the floor here would be that there's a bunch of changes and different configurations based on performance. But you're going to land on one that's best, or you're going to go back to one that's best. So don't freak out if you see different starting lineups. Ceiling, I don't know they can be the best in the Big 12 because again, I think Utah State's offensive line is going to be excellent. Baylor's is going to be very good.
Utah,
Utah, I'm
not
sorry, who
Utah
did I say?
State.
Not Utah
Utah
State.
State. No, not the Aggies. I promise.
Well, let me tell you about Utah State there. I think Utah's line is going to be excellent. I think Baylor's going to be really good again. If they bring four guys back, they hit the portal really well. Texas Tech acquired a bunch of talent there too, and not just like $5 million freshmen who won't be on campus yet, but they got some good players there. But if you're talking a top third offensive line, that's a top five offensive line in the Big 12. That's pretty good. Top quarter be top four. We'll see. But if they're in that top five, they're going to do a lot of things on offense, I think.
If you're on the floor thing, yeah, because the ceiling, I have no idea. Again, there's just a lot of times with these offensive linemen, you can tell and you can tell what elite looks like. And then there's a reason why Wyatt Milan was starting as a freshman. That's why he was involved. That's why he was an All-American in high school. That's why those guys get singled out and they get recruited so hard, and it's so hard for West Virginia to get them. So the idea that West Virginia is going to be like a top two or three offensive line in the league, probably not likely, unless you can just, I mean, schematically you might be able to make it seem that way, but it's not going to be there. I'm with you. Um, you're just not going to be at the floor. You shouldn't be. You have 11 new transfers. Nine of them are in their third year of college or later. If you are still one of the bottom two or three offensive lines in the league, that's an evaluation problem. Okay. Or a money problem, I guess. You can put it on the money problem. But you can't be bringing in that many veteran offensive linemen and not be able to figure something out. So I think the floor, like you, I think the floor is pretty high. Ceiling, not quite what it could be. I think in some other schools.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Oh wait, I wanted to ask you something sort of off topic. Quirky Polka touched on it a little bit. Did you watch any of the West Virginia games? Now that we're recording this Sunday night, so the second game is happening as we speak. Did you watch any of the blow an enormous lead, didn't come back to get the win against the boys in the game one?
With Toby Okane making free throws.
Yes.
That's I caught the last I forget what it was when the inbound the foul and putting him on there. So like it was like 2 seconds I saw. That's
Yeah.
legitimately what I saw. And I was like, this is gonna go badly, isn't it? And it didn't. So what do I know? But yeah, did not catch that one Friday and did not catch the game on Sunday.
We may not be the best. Andrew covered it. He wrote about it. He evaluated it. I think I turned it on with like 8, 9 minutes to go in the fourth, and West Virginia was up 15-20. And then the other team went on like a 12-0 run, and West Virginia was just peeing down their leg because a double team was coming. I was like, this is unbelievable. What's happening? So I have literally no clue how they built the lead in the first place. So let's just put it that way. I don't know if we're the best people to ask, but I just wanted to ask if you saw it. I hadn't got to talk to you about it yet.
Okani was 19 for 63 from 3-point range last year. He was 22 for 57 from free throw range. That's not the guy you think is going to go in and like end the game on the Elam ending there too, but he did. So good for him. Got out of town.
Coal City Air, here you go. One WV player, one Big 12 player, one Big 12 coach that you would buy, sell, and hold.
So all three of these for each
All
one.
right, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, let's go buy. Who are you buying on WVU's team? Or do you want to do? All right, so do you want to do buy, sell, hold West Virginia?
Yeah, yeah.
Or,
Let's do all that.
and then buy. Okay, so we'll do buy, sell, hold coaches. Let's start there. Buy, sell, hold coaches.
Buy Kalani Sitake. I know he's been around, but I think he's just a really popular guy there. I think he's a good coach. He's got his staff figured out a little bit, and they're getting money. That's a tough place to get talent to for just various reasons. But if they're doing that now, then that might be something to keep an eye on there. hold Dave Aranda because people were trying to run him out of town for a while. Had a really good run last season and brought back a, a ton of experience, especially offensively, and the upgrade on defense. He stuck with his defensive coordinator. Just hold because I don't know yet. You could have unloaded it, but I'd hold on to that. Sell Mike Gundy.
Ah, you took my hold and my sell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you took my hold and my sell. That's killing me.
Who's your buy?
Yeah, I mean Gundy looks like he's just out.
Yeah,
Like I think he's just done. Um, and I mean, and this has nothing to do with the TikTokers and all that stuff. Uh, but my buy was Sonny Dykes. I'm back
okay.
in. I think like I mean, obviously first year they make it all the way to the national championship game, get blown out. Next year, sub 500 record. I think a lot of people are like, oh well, he just won with the previous coaches. Da 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 da. And then he comes back 9-4, respectable 9-4. And
Got hot too.
yeah, as I say, got hot towards the end of the year. I think he added a really nice class. I like the coaching. He's got is Ryle still there?
OC.
Kendall. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, and so I think he's got a good staff around him. He added again a lot of good talent in recruiting classes, several 4 stars, several big time transfers. I could see them being a sneaky kind of Big 12 conference championship pick here where they won 5 of their last 6. So give me TCU here as
Okay.
my buy. Sonny Dykes as my buy.
Their non-conference is tough. They open up at UNC. Who knows who you're going to get? And they play SMU, which probably won't be the same SMU team, but um, I don't know. They just don't have a hard. They don't have the most difficult Big 12 schedule. They don't play. I think they maybe go to Arizona State, but they don't see a lot of the other good teams. So um, it's not a bad pick. I like that one.
All right. Buy, sell, hold, Big 12 player.
I'm buying Devin Dampier, the Utah quarterback, just because I think that I mean he got his offensive coordinator with him. He was like a 2000, 1000 guy last year, I think, something like that. Just an exciting guy. They're going to give him the ball, let him play in that offense, and they've had such quarterback issues in the past that I think that he's going to get a whole lot of rope to go. He's the new quarterback. He was in New Mexico State. He transferred up with his offensive coordinator. That should be fun. Sell. I don't know if you can you sell Jake Retzloff, maybe. Um, it's kind of hard not to go quarterback here, just because they're so important.
Better not take my guy again.
Oh, you want to take the sell?
You go ahead.
No, no, no. I insist.
All right. Well, first off, my buy
Okay.
I have a buy for a quarterback and a buy for or a sell for a quarterback. My holds, I don't know. I'm not holding anybody. Um, I'm buying Josh Hoover as legitimate all Big 12. I mean, it's not he threw for what almost 4,000 yards last year, but I think he is a guy who legitimately could be all American candidate worthy.
Hmm.
Like, so I'm in. Um, I'm selling Levitt out of Arizona State.
Okay.
I, I know. I think that offense ran through Scatabo so much that as a whole, the team as a whole, the offense as a whole, is going to be in for a rude awakening when this happens. And his stats, not bad,
Mhm.
better at the start of the year, tougher. No, better, excuse me, better at the end of the year. But really took a hard time in that Texas game. Like I thought he fought hard. Like I remember him running for his life a lot. I remember him scrambling out to get a few yards. But I just think without Scatabo back there, he's going to have that offense is going to have a hard time. He's going to have a hard time. He's going to come back down to earth a little bit. So is that team.
That's not
Well,
bad.
he got named first team preseason All Big 12. Like, I'm not saying he's going to suck, but first team All Big 12 preseason football,
Okay.
I'm not ready to go there.
Okay. I think that like Chase Roberts is a good receiver for BYU. I think he's actually first team all conference, but just an exciting guy that when he's played, he's been a really good player for them. I just don't know who the quarterback is. So like logically, I would say who's going to hurt the most by the quarterback drop off there. The receiver is one, so that would be one I would think about for sure. Um, I'll tell you, Chris. I'm intrigued by what you just said there, and I'll be a little risky. Like, are we sure on Avery Johnson? Like, he's got a ton of pub.
We asked this last year, I think. We were like, nah, come on, this guy had like two good games.
Talent is there. There's no doubt, and he can turn on, he can go, but like he can really scuffle it sometimes too. And like all the stuff on Kansas State that I see in here as well, they have Avery Johnson back. And I'm like, but this is good. Okay, so we're assuming it's
Yeah,
good. Okay, and I
yeah,
wouldn't sure if it was like we have Avery Johnson back, comma, and we don't know what that means, or we have Avery Johnson back, comma, and that's not a great like I just don't know where that's going, but it seems like it's assumed that it's automatically a good thing for them. I don't know that. That's not an emphatic yes for me.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people will say, yeah, when the quarterback plays well, the team wins, and when the quarterback doesn't, the team loses. No, no kidding.
Mhm.
But I mean, Johnson, when he's bad, he's real bad, and he is like the reason that the team loses.
Mhm.
In each of their losses last year was just horrendous. I mean, no touchdowns, two picks against Arizona State, loss.
Mhm.
59% completion percentage, one TD, two interceptions, lost to Houston. Um, got blown out by BYU when he threw for 130 yards and no touchdowns, two picks. And then what, 12 for 28 against Iowa State
Mhm.
in their other loss. So yeah, anytime they're again, yeah, their quarterback plays well, all that stuff, but
Sell it.
God, he is bad when it's bad.
Sell it. How do you
So
hold then? Who do you hold then?
I don't know. I'm trying to think what when you say hold, we mean somebody that we think is good and is going to be even better. Should I put in
Don't
Hoover
buy
there?
it. Don't sell it. You're just kind of like the jury's out. You might be. You'll have an answer in a couple weeks.
Oh crap! This we can't do WVU. Okay, hold on. I
Uh,
was just about to do a WVU player.
uh, I got one that maybe West Virginia should have held on before, but like Keaton
Uh,
Thomas.
yeah, guys, all right.
Yeah, he's been good, but that defense and their secondary was not good last year, and they made a lot of changes around it. I know he's not a safety, but he's involved in the passing games. He could be a good pass rusher. He's a linebacker. He plays a really important role for them too. If their defense is going to be good, it's going to be behind him and also because of him. And if the defense isn't good, his numbers will probably slide. He won't be as effective because maybe they asked him to do different things or more things. Or maybe he's singled out. I just don't know yet with him, but that's a guy that we've had our eyes on for various reasons for a while, but truly one of the better players in the conference.
I might hold Dante Corleone, the
Okay.
Godfather. He was one that I remember we talked about. Everybody raved about because I think he was the highest graded player in PFF
Hmm.
in 2022. Like maybe regardless of position, but certainly on the defensive line. Um, and his stats have kind of just been the same, and then even less last year, even though he's playing a little bit more. I'm not out on him. I want to hold on him because I think he's very, 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 very good. I think he's closer to what we saw in 2022 than maybe his stats might have indicated in 2024. So
Hmm.
I'm holding. I think he's a guy that, you know, we're talking at the end of the year, and I think he might have been preseason on Big 12. I stopped paying attention to that stuff because we don't get to vote on the
Hmm.
rankings anymore. But he might have been preseason, but I think he'll be postseason as well.
All right, Chris. West Virginia,
WVU time. Yeah.
who you buying?
You want you want to go you want to go I'll go first on the hold because I'm already in this zone of holding. And I don't know if it's gonna upset people, confuse people, or what, or if like it's dumb of me to pick him. But Jaheim White, can I hold him? Because like
Oh,
I think again, I'm not trying to dilute what he's done. But I think a lot of people are comparing, he wasn't trending in the right direction. Let's put it this way. He was worse last year than he was the year before. Now, some
hmm.
of that is the role and some of that was the offensive line, but he was much, much better as a true freshman than he was last season. His body is much, much different now than it was last season and certainly 2 years ago.
Hmm.
But he's also got a wildly different and very running back friendly offense. So I don't think anybody was selling him. Obviously, I mean, everybody loves him, especially in Morgantown. But I'm holding because I think this is like I want to see these first 3 weeks because this could be one of those. Oh man, it was never getting as good as it was in 2023, or it's, oh man, he's an All-American. So I don't think the price is right one way or the other right now on this stock of Jaheim White.
It's a really great answer because yeah, and coming off a knee, so
Hmm.
is he going to be sharp right away?
Oh, excuse me, Mike. Let's delete that. Just like he deleted that off of his Instagram post after posting it.
Looks like
Pretend
he's
like
in
it never
great shape
happened.
though. Looks like he's in great shape though, so that should be good. My hold, boy, it's difficult here. It's just like the whole team is in a holding
Yeah, I
pattern,
was about
right?
to say I could pick Cam Vaughn as my hold. I could pick Jaden Bray as my hold. Like the whole starting unit is a
Yeah.
hold. I don't
You
know.
get the whole quarterback group there. Even as I'm going through the defense here, I'm trying to figure out like for Jamori Robinson, for example. I mean, is there a bigger hold out there right now? Is it going to be? It's going to be very different there. Um, I'm going to go hold on Reed Carrico because we talked about linebacker and we just didn't have a lot of names. Um, he could be a guy that has built himself up and gotten ready for this big season because he's been in college for a while and he's never played as much. He's probably going to have to play this year or as much as he'd want to play this year. But there might be guys who are just better at what they want to do or at what he can do, and he might not be that guy. He might still be a valuable player. He might do a lot of special team stuff. He might just be the senior version of who he's been the first couple of years of his career on the field. But he might also make a leap too and put it all together and be exactly who they need him to be. I could see that going either way. So, and that's like an important position because they just don't have a lot there. I would keep an eye on that one.
Thought you were gonna take it. Thought you were gonna steal from me again. Thought you're reading my notes because my buy is that guy that's right behind him on Andrew's depth chart that I'm not sure should be behind him. And I'm not saying that Reed Carrico won't start either. I could see Carrico sliding to the off-ball linebacker, but is everybody familiar with John Lewis? That is a massive man. Like when I saw him out there, I was like, "Who the heck is that? Is that a defensive lineman?" I thought it was an edge rusher, a defensive end. When he was going through some of the conditioning drills that I witnessed during the 7-on-7 camp, that is a big dude that's going to plug a lot of holes. That is gotten a lot more playing time. Now, granted, it's not on the West Virginia's level, but it is FBS level, and I could see him as somebody that when he was coming out of high school, I think he was pretty highly rated. Like he was like a 4-star guy. He had SEC interest. He was supposed to end up at Mississippi State or went to Mississippi State for the spring.
Hmm.
Like he's got similar ish pedigree to Reed Carrico. I mean, Reed Carrico was 4-star Ohio State signee, All American in high school as well. But keep an eye on John Lewis. I'd like to buy low because I don't think I've literally have not heard anybody talk about him. So I would like to buy this penny stock and hold on to it for a while, please.
All right. I'm gonna go William Davis because I have heard people talk about him and I don't know why, which makes me think that like people are talking about him to people who would be like, hey, keep an eye. Like if there's, I'm not gonna name these people here, but like if there are national people who are giving previews of West Virginia and they mention the defense and they go and William Davis, they put him in a blurb. Why? No offense to him, but why? There must be something going on there. And then just been an active player. He's played a lot of football. He's gonna be in the crosshairs. He's probably going to be like that nickel safety guy. Will he be the one? I don't know, but I think he's got a chance, which is why I would buy here. Got 11 and a half tackles for a loss as a defensive back last year. Again, Virginia Union, different level of football. I get that, but you're not taking that guy up here and you're not talking about him at this point unless you think there's something there. So just something about that intrigues me. Been an active player, fast, and has something that has shined a little bit.
Sell is hard because I'm not entirely sure whose stock is currently inflated. Like who is being talked about other than Jaheim White on this team and Cam Vaughn? Who's being talked about as like this guy's all conference type or higher? So I'm having a hard time settling on selling. Do you have somebody?
I do, and it's not fair to him because he had a great spring, but I look at everything that's changed since then, and like Dior Hubbard is just kind of a guy that I'm thinking, boy, he could get squished out. I mean, obviously White's back. That's going to be a guy who gets just a ton of the time. Um, and Hubbard, I don't want to say that like he nudged people out, but the way he played, um, like the guys left because he was going to be a guy that kept like guys who transferred in, transferred out. Guys who were with him in the same class last year transferred out because he was a reason why. He played that well, but Edwards is still here. He's a big back, and so's Hubbard a little bit, but Edwards is different. He's bigger. And then Knighton is he's been a good player in college before. They brought him in, and he's going to be a last year player who's familiar with this. He's been productive. And then like if you've seen some of the Sincere Bauer stuff, there's something there. Like there's some energy, some zip at the position that I think that could be something to watch. And then even like a smaller addition, Chris, Cannon Cancer too. So we're Cannon Cancer or Katzer,
Katzer. You got it.
Cannon or Canyon.
Cannon, Katzer.
So Cannon Katzer. Just they've added these guys, and it's going to be hard for him. I'm not saying he won't, but if you're asking me like a guy that you might unload now while the price is high, it might be him just because there's going to be a lot of competition in that room and guys who are brought into play and they're going to get the ball and they're going to probably be expected to do something with it. So a guy like Hubbard's answered a lot. He might not have to do as much. So it might be good for him, but I could see him being a guy that just kind of gets nudged out.
All right. That gave me an idea of kind of where to go with something like this. Like instead of looking at starters, maybe looking at those guys that you thought might take the leap or were in position to take a leap, but maybe have been recruited over thanks to transfers and whatnot. And first place I looked, sadly, was along the defensive line. Because I think, or maybe not sadly, not for West Virginia, because I think they brought in a lot of playable pieces, I think is the way I want to phrase it. I don't want to say, it's awesome, but I think they got a lot of guys that they would feel comfortable putting into a 6 to 8 man rotation. And I think somebody like Corey McIntyre Jr., who seemed poised to be on his way to playing before injury. I mean, he was one of the true freshmen that they talked about,
Yeah,
right? Like when he was a true freshman, like this guy's great. This guy's ahead of schedule. And now here we are going into a third year, and I'm having a hard time. I'm sitting right here, let's go the three spots here: nose tackle, defensive end. Eddie Kelly Jr., Devin Grant. Like those are two seniors that they brought in as transfers to play. So I'm assuming they're in. Eddie V, back and healthy. I assume he's in. Asani Redwood was already ahead of him. That's four. Hammond Russell already ahead of him. That's five. Nate Gabriel, I think, might have been ahead of him, and it's certainly being talked about like he's ahead of him. That's six. And then you're bringing in Adam Tomcizic, who's a junior college guy, maybe seven. Elijah Simmons, another junior college transfer guy. That's eight. It's getting kind of tight. It's getting kind of tight, and you have to wonder, if it hasn't happened yet, I'm not sure. I'm willing to hold on to the stock and wait to see if it does.
interesting. Boy, the numbers are crazy. Just
Yeah,
like hearing you explain that, like it's the guy who's been a good player for a while, but there's a lot of good players out there too.
yeah. And again, we haven't seen practice. Maybe he's taking all these transfers butts and he's sitting third or fourth, but I haven't heard that. And so I don't feel comfortable holding on to that at the moment.
I have one more question for you before we go.
Sure.
Chris, you couldn't ain't ear sports on it chest.
You couldn't paint it. Paint it. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was trying to put it from my phone because I was trying to share the little Instagram reel of the guy pulling his shirt, this guy at the TBT game pulling his shirt up. And somebody messaged me, not a capitalist, one of our other members, joking that it was somebody else on the board. So I posted it on the board, asking why they didn't paint ear sports on the chest. I'll give out free year of VIP for anybody that paints ear sports on their chest and goes out there in one of the games. So keep an eye out for that. By the way,
You have people worried that you maybe have had like a cardiac event or something like that, or just like all of a sudden it didn't make sense. It was gibberish. Somebody said it was classic shoe, which
yeah.
cracked me up. Shoeless
When he
iron
said that,
board.
I was like, oh man, it hurts. It hurts.
All right. Anything else there?
Never post something and then immediately leave the board. Always go back and double check what you posted and the responses before you leave.
Yeah, it's always bad when you post something and all of a sudden you see all the notifications in the lower left. You're like, oh man, did I blank and
Yeah.
just forget to do this? And no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh
All right.
well.
You have people worried. It's glad to think here things are okay. Do you have anything else to unload here before we pack it up for the day?
Now that's it. Keep an eye out for several more baseball stories. Again, we'll have some scoop on how it works with building the roster, the money part of it. Steve Saban's opens up about that, how they funds a lot of these roster spots. A lot of talk about summer league and a different story about how they find the places for these guys and what kind of input they have on it, what they take from it. A good JJ Weatherholt story in there. Uh, David Hagan update. I spoke with him just through for the first time last week, so that's good news there. And then some insight from Joey Cuomo, who handles official visits for West Virginia baseball, just to kind of give. I mean, for years we have been covering, hey, this is what football is, and I mean, I would tell you what hotel they stayed at, where they eat their lunch, where they eat their dinner, all that stuff, or the options at least. We kind of got into some of that with the baseball stuff too, to kind of give you a little more insight into that. So just spreading the recruiting love around to all the sports.
Hey, you invite us, give us access, we will write about you. I promise.
I promise.
Helps out like that too. I got some football previews coming up, looking at how they could be good, how they might not be good. Is the schedule tough? Is it easy? I honestly didn't even know anymore. Like it's been a hard thing this preseason trying to figure out what matters. Like I'm like, oh man, Baylor's got four starting offensive linemen back. What if a team just bought four really good offensive linemen too? Just they don't have any returning starters, but they bought four good ones. It's hard to tell. So we'll see. We'll try to crack the code this week if we can and get you a little bit closer to the start of the preseason practice. Until then, I'm Mike Kazaza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We'll talk to you then.